Hi everyone. So, similar to what you're probably feeling, I'm going through a range of emotions at this point of the year. It's the Spring Carnival racing season, and your mind can't be helped but drawn to the suffering that these incredible animals endure. The suffering that they endure while they're still considered useful to the industry and are active in the racing industry. And then the suffering and terrible fate that awaits those who are considered not useful anymore. Those that end up at the knackery. Because contrary to what the industry would have you believe, they don't all end up at pony clubs, trail riding, or any other those places. The majority of them end up in a can of pet food, or loaded onto trucks and headed up to Queensland for slaughter to be shipped overseas for human consumption. I have a lot of admiration and gratitude for the groups of people who've put often their careers on hold, who've suffered abuse online and in public, for their dedication to exposing the dark underbelly of the racing industry. And in particular, I want to pay tribute to the Coalition for the Protection of Racehorses. They've been at the forefront of exposing all of these things for years. They've let the public know about tongue ties, the over-excessive use of the whip, a whole host of what we would call welfare problems. But they've also exposed how many deaths happen in the industry, both on the track and away from the track. That includes those that goes to the knackery, but it also includes those who, because of a public relations exercise, who were injured on the track and then taken away out of the public eye. Thanks to CPR, we know that in the last 12 months, 122 horses have died. But that's only those ones, as I say, that the racing industry will admit to. Tens of thousands have been sacrificed at the knackery. So this year, like many other years, I attended the annual Nut to the Cup celebrations, which are held straight across the road from Flemington Racecourse on Melbourne Cup Day. And the reason that celebration is held is so that people can see that they don't need to participate in animal cruelty to have a good time. You can have a public holiday, you can do all those things, but you don't need to lay a bet and support an industry that might well see another animal meet its fate on the track that day. The facts are that in the last 6 years we've seen 6 horses die on the track from the Melbourne Cup, 2 in 1 year. And we've had another injury, which we hope won't result in another death. Rostropovich, with what we believe is a cracked or fractured pelvis. Now that horse was taken to Werribee on Melbourne Cup Day and is getting a lot of care. We hope that he pulls through. But the track record, if you'll pardon the pun, of an elite racehorse surviving those types of injuries is not good. Some do, the majority don't. So without wanting to sound like another politician in another place, our thoughts and prayers are with Rostropovich. They're not with his owners, his handlers and his trainers. The problem that we face is that the racing culture is so entrenched in Victoria, and indeed across Australia. It's seen as part of our cultural heritage in some ways. Well, it's not. It's not. And we can change that. And we are changing it. The issues that were brought to light in the 7:30 report could not have come at a worse time for the racing industry. And I want to thank the ABC for being at the forefront of exposing animal cruelty within the racing industry. They exposed the problems with the Darren Weir stables, and now they've exposed this problem of how many horses go to slaughter. And here is the problem. Anywhere between 12 and 16,000 foals come into that industry every single year. They're not all going to find a home at the end of their careers. And let's examine that term. The end of their career might be when they're 2 or 3 years old, if they don't make the grade. So what happens now? Well, every time we have something like this happen, the industry opens up the cupboard, dusts off a few celebrities, a couple of high-profile trainers, bring them out, and there's a lot of hand-wringing and navel-gazing and searching of souls. And the industry makes some sort of public commitment that they're going to change, that they're going to take care of this. Well, nothing ever happens. This money that they're donating to themselves, and let's be clear on this, they've made a donation to themselves to supposedly clean the industry up, to take care of these things. Well, they've done it before, and they'll have to do it again. But nothing ever happens, nothing real. Because when you are in charge of yourself as an industry, you have complete control over what happens, and you have complete control of the narrative that's put out there to both government and the general public. And we've all seen what industry self-regulation can do. We only have to look at the Banking Royal Commission and the Royal Commission into Aged Care, because those industries proved that they couldn't be trusted. The racing industry has a horrendous history of proving that it can't be trusted. I urge you, don't you trust them. Tell the government to put permanent caps on how many animals can come into the industry to begin with, because let's be real here, let's be pragmatic. Do we think we're going to shut the industry down tomorrow? Of course not. It's too big, it's worth too much money. They have a lot of influence. But what we can do as consumers, what we can do as citizens of this state, is we can force the government to keep a watchful eye on them. We can force them to spend that $25 million on the outside. Let's have a Royal Commission. Let's have a body set up that governs the industry from the outside, that just for once tells them how they're going to do things. Then maybe, just maybe, we might be able to save a few horses' lives. Cheers.